All right, let's record. So, we just did Joe's. I still have no internet, so I have no idea when you're going to see this. Not my fault. Sorry. But now on to Justin's team. Um, Let me just get this out of the way. Justin, I hate the way you draft. I hate it. Can't stand it. No idea why you do it. It's not good. Don't like it. So here we go. So, first round. To your credit, took Saquon Barkley. I had Barkley as the best player on the board. I actually liked him more than I liked Kamara. I don't know if I'd take him over Elliott, Gurley, Bell, or Johnson, but I think he'll be really good. Like, really, really good. Um, Number two overall pick, obviously, in this year's draft. It's a really high draft pick to use on a running back, so you have to use him. You have to use him. So, taking him there, totally understand. Best player on the board, huge potential. He's going to be their bell cow back. He can catch, he can run. He's in an offense that maybe Odell Beckham is like the best offensive player on that team, but Barkley's going to get his. They need Barkley to be really good, so he's going to get his, and so that's why they took him so high. And I totally get it. So taking him at number 6. Best player on the board, player with the highest potential. I totally agree with the pick. I'm totally good with it. So we have no real I mean, I guess I could go into you could build possibly a championship team around him. Yeah, I believe that. So yeah, okay, Barkley, good, really good pick. So second round, Adam Thielen. Okay, another pick. I actually like Thielen. Thielen was pretty good last year. If you ask me between Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen who I'd rather have, you might be surprised to learn I'd rather have Adam Thielen. Why is that? Well, last year, he was healthy the whole year. He caught 1,200 yards. He got you only 4 touchdowns, but he sees the target volume to get more than that. I mean, I don't know if we're going to be like DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones good, but if I have to pick between, say, this pick and, say, like Max Devontae Adams pick, I like the Thielen pick more because that was an offense that couldn't figure out a quarterback. So they were running the ball a lot more than they really wanted to, and Thielen still got his. So now they have a quarterback. And even though they have a new offensive coordinator, I think they're going to open it up a little bit more. And I think Thielen is the guy. I mean, people love Stephon Diggs. There's like, oh man, Stephon Diggs was really good last year and he catches the ball a lot. Like, you see all that potential, but it's misleading because he's always hurt. Thielen's not. He's there every week. Just every week putting in time, getting that work, getting good yards. He'll have some games, where he only gets like 50, 60 yards, but he's going to be there for you. And when those big games come and those touchdowns come, he's worth it. So he's a lower tier number 1 starting running back, but considering how the board worked out for you, like considering some of the picks that already went on, like AJ Green, I had Jerick McKinnon, Mac took Devontae Adams, it's tough. It was pretty tough. It was really down at this point. It was either like Thielen or you're really reaching for like Josh Gordon win this round. So it was tough. It was a tough pick. So I think it was the best pick you had on the board, and I think it was one of the better picks you in the second round. So this pick, I like this pick. Third round, I like that pick too. Look at that. So you took Allen Robinson. Now, 2 years ago, Robinson was a top 5 fantasy receiver with Jacksonville. It might have been three years ago, so a little longer. So 2015, he's top 5 fantasy player. He was fantastic. That was the garbage time Blake Bortles year where they were losing like 35-3 most games, and then they just had to chuck the ball around the yard, and Robinson just ate it up. Obviously he missed all of last season, so he's coming off a knee injury, and he's on a new team, but I've mentioned it a couple times in videos before, and I'm going to mention again. I believe the Bears will be better than they were last year. I don't know if I trust Mitch Trubisky, but that offense has to be better just by pure luck or variance, pure regression to the mean, and frankly, he's a 6'3" red zone weapon. He's a good player. You've seen how good he is. And it's not like, oh, Kevin White's going to soak up. Let me add tissue. Kevin White, the former first-round pick who's missed most of the seasons, going to soak up targets. Alshon Jeffrey doesn't play there anymore. Brandon Marshall doesn't play there anymore. Cameron Meredith doesn't play there anymore. They got Trey Burton, cool. Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen are good running backs, yeah, but Robinson is the guy who's just got potential oozing off of him. They gave him a big money contract, and he didn't play at all last year, and they need him to be good, and I think he will be. I think he's going to get a healthy target share, like 120 targets, maybe 90 receptions, 1,200 yards. He could be a top 5 receiver, possibly. To get that in the third round, obviously, to get that in the third round, there are warts, and the warts are he's an injury risk. But, man, could he be good. Like, he could be really, really, really good. So, I like this pick. It's ballsy. I don't know if it'll work out, but I liked Robinson quite a bit. I was actually hoping to get him, maybe in the 4th round, but obviously he didn't fall that far. But he's a good player. So, 4th round, we take Chris Carson. I like Chris Carson. I think he's the best running back on Seattle. It's weird because they used a first-round pick on Rashad Penny, who can't catch, can't pass block, but is a good rusher. But Chris Carson was pretty good last year when he was healthy. And Penny's been hurt, and it looks like Carson's going to be the number 1 guy. Would I rather have Chris Carson as my flex? Yeah, but there's not a lot of depth at running back, and at least you were addressing it with something, with a starter-worthy player. Carson has looked good in the preseason, per se. He is firmly the number 1 back on that team. Will he be able to hold it the whole season? I don't know, and that's what makes him a bit of a risk. But he's a very complete running back. And I think he is currently maybe not the most talented guy, because I think Penny has just a lot of talent, but he's the most consistent guy. And I don't know if he's going to play the whole season, be the star of the whole season, but I hope so. I think he can. I think that if he does, then this was a good pick. If he doesn't, kind of sucks to lose a starting running back that high, but he's not bad. He's a starter. You addressed a need. So it was a reach, but you needed to do it, and you did it, and you got a decent starter for it, so I can respect that. And now, here we are, where I don't like your drafts. So you took Cam Newton in the 5th round. Why did you do that? I can't make heads or tails with you why you did that. Let's just go back. We don't even have to go back to, other teams and quarterbacks. I've talked about quarterbacks and why I don't like taking them high. We'll just go to you. We'll stick to you specifically, Justin. So last year, you took Matt Ryan in the 4th round. 47 overall, in fact. I have it written down right there. And you know what Matt Ryan was? He was the 15th best fantasy quarterback. You know how many fantasy teams we have in our league? We have 14. So he wasn't good enough to be a starter in our league. So the year before, you also took a quarterback, reasonably high. You took Blake Bortles in the 6th round. So you took Blake Bortles early 6th round, 74th overall. He was coming off that garbage time, Blake Bortles time. And you were just like, maybe that was his breakout. Maybe he can be really good. So I'm going to take him in the 6th round. You took Blake Bortles in the 6th round, Justin. Okay? You know what Blake Bortles ended up being? He ended up being terrible for you. All right? He was not good at all. He actually ended up being a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And you might say, maybe that pick worked out. No, it didn't. Because in the first half of the season, he was a bottom 30 quarterback. It just so happened he had a quick 5-game hot streak, and then he went back to being terrible again. And there were a lot of injuries at quarterback. So that was another wasted pick. I don't think he finished the season on your team. I can't look it up, but I don't think he did. The year before that, you took Ben Roethlisberger. I think, what was it? Was the round you took Roethlisberger in? You took Roethlisberger in 5th round? Was it 5th round? I think what's the number? So yeah, 47 overall. So you took Roethlisberger in the 5th round. Roethlisberger was coming off a pretty solid season with Antonio Brown, and you were just like, maybe he'll continue. I don't know what it is with you, taking these quarterbacks years after they have a big year and thinking they're going to do it again. That's really the biggest issue I have. Like, you're not taking potential. You're doing what I call point chasing. There's like, this guy has a huge monster year the year before, and you're like, oh, he can do it again. No, he can't. What would make you think he could do that? What in his career would make you think he could do that? What in Blake Bortles' career makes you think he's a top 10 quarterback? Like a 5-week stretch 2 years ago, and then a hot 4-week stretch the year before to end the season? What makes you think Cam Newton's a top 10 quarterback? Because he was the 16th best quarterback last year? What makes you think Ben Roethlisberger 2 years ago, coming off a very good season, would be healthy the entire season and play the entire season? I think you drafted Roethlisberger that year, and he didn't even play the whole season. He got hurt. You keep spending these top 5 or 6 round picks on quarterbacks who aren't good. I don't know why you do it. Why? Year after year after year, you pick a quarterback in the 5th or 6th round, and it's just why? Why did you waste the pick? These guys aren't good. They're not top 5 quarterbacks. They don't end up being top 5 quarterbacks. They're not good players. Cam Newton's, okay, I guess, Cam Newton 2 years ago was an MVP. Do you think he's going to be an MVP this year? Because I don't see it. I didn't see it last year. When he was the 18th best quarterback in fantasy. So why would I see it this year? Why would I see Blake Bortles a couple years ago being a top 5 quarterback again when he only had a 5-week stretch where he got super hot because they were playing down? I don't understand the need to take these quarterbacks so high. You literally could have just sat there and taken literally almost anyone on the board that you felt like, and you would have been better off. I can't even say that even reaching for quarterback, I don't even know why you reach for Cam Newton specifically. Newton wasn't good last year. He was bad. There's no inexplicable reason to take him in the top 5 rounds. You know where I had Newton ranked? I had Newton ranked as the 19th best quarterback in fantasy. That's undrafted in our league. You took him in the 5th round. I literally didn't have him on my draft board, and you took him in the 5th round. That's wild to me. Even if we go by, oh, I don't like certain players, fine, sure. We can go by that. What makes you think Newton's going to be healthy the entire season? Has he been healthy an entire season? His entire career, he had 1 season where he hasn't missed any games. That was his MVP season. It's an outlier. He's been in the league now 7 years. This is his 8th year, and he's had 1 season where he's played the whole season. He had 1 season where he was an MVP. That was great. That was awesome. Good for him that 1 year. I have 6 other years where I can say this is what he is. And guess what? That is what he is. And here he is. And this is what he is. He's not a starting quarterback in our fantasy football league. I can literally pick up Jared Goff for free today, and I could plug him in my lineup, and he's probably going to be better for the whole season than Cam Newton. And use a 5th round pick on Cam Newton. Stop taking quarterbacks in the first 5 or 6 rounds. Stop it. Don't do it. Stop wasting them. I got Drew Brees in the 11th round. Matt got Matthew Stafford in the 11th round. All right? What? There's no inexplicable reason to be wasting these picks. I don't understand. Newton wasn't even good last year, and you wasted the pick. I don't care. I don't care if you had Newton number 1 on your board. All right? And he was just the top 80 players on the board are gone, but I still have Cam Newton. You know what? You can still sit on your hands and wait. You know why? Because whoever takes Cam Newton that high, it was a wasted pick. Because you know who's number 2 on the board? Another probably pretty good quarterback you could get for much, much cheaper. It's just wild. Just wild that you use another pick on a bad quarterback. I just don't understand. You do it every single year, and it just never changes. Every single year, these guys don't finish the season on your team because they're terrible. They're just terrible. All right, so then you're filling in starters, which is why you took Newton. So you're just I want to get all my starters taken care of. To your credit, at least you took Kyle Rudolph. Do I love taking tight end that high? No, I don't, but Rudolph's pretty consistent. Excuse me. He has a new quarterback, Kirk Cousins, throws it to the tight end a lot. Unfortunately, I don't know if you were thinking about it. You already have Adam Thielen on that Minnesota offense, so now you have another pass catcher in the Minnesota offense. So now you have 2 that play, they're competing for catches and touchdowns. It's not great look, but, maybe it could work out. I don't know. I think, what is it? He's scored 15 touchdowns the last 2 years combined, so he scores. And when he scores, he's worth it. Is he going to average 10 points a game? No. He's probably going to average 7. But that makes him like a top 10 tight end. The problem is I don't see potential to be any like top 5 tight end, and that's really what you want when you're taking a guy in like the 6th round or so. But, he's solid, but I think you're going to like fall into the trap of like kind of like Mac here. And this is really why I have a big problem with your draft, because now we're just going to be like, we're going to take solid players, but we're not going to take a single guy with any upside to be anything more than he could be. They're just all going to be solid guys who could possibly just be free agents because they're okay. So, like, next pick, Will Fuller. So I know Brian was really looking at Will Fuller because he really loved him last year, and he's just like, oh, he's a huge breakout candidate. I mean, he looked really good last year. He was scoring touchdowns with Sean Watson. Now Watson's back. Again, mitigating circumstances, all right? So in 15 catches last year with Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller scored 7 touchdowns. Do I think that's going to happen again? Hell to the no. Okay, if a guy could score a touchdown for every 2 catches that he had, like he would be the number 1 scoring player in fantasy ever, and that's not going to happen. So touchdown regression is real, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen quickly. He's a big play threat. Watson is back, but is he going to stay healthy the whole season? And if he doesn't get that big play, he doesn't see the ball enough to justify being a starter. That's short and long of it. Like, if I throw you the ball 3 times a game and you don't score a touchdown those 3 times, well, then it wasn't worth it. You need volume, okay? You need volume. You need enough catches to be able to get into the end zone. So without those big plays, I don't think he gets in the end zone as much. He'll be lucky to get as many touchdowns as he got last year. I think this was a reach. I think there were much better players on the board. You're like, oh, you fall in love with these guys. You're coming off a big year, and you think, oh, this guy's really good. No, he's not. Nothing in his history says that except for this one outlier year. Stop falling in love with the outlier. Go with the consistency, all right? The outlier year for Cam Newton was 3 years ago, okay? We know what he is. He's a bottom starting quarterback in our league, possibly. Maybe he could be good, but you don't use these picks on like guys who could be. You use them on guys who either you believe in or guys who are pretty good. You don't do either. You're chasing. You're point chasing. This is not Will Fuller is not going to be as good scoring touchdowns as he was last year. There's just no way. It's just touchdown regression. He's regression to the mean. Like there's no way that's going to happen. Like there's no way. Like, you need all these things to happen to break right. You need Watson to be healthy the whole season. You would need the defense to be terrible again. You would need Fuller to not be basically double covered at any time. You would need Hopkins to continue to get a huge target share. And you would need the Texans to get in a bunch of these shootouts where they have to throw and not run the ball. Like, that's a lot of things for 7 weeks happened last year that really broke right. And Fuller, and I had Watson, and I like Watson, and he was great, but I wasn't spending a top 7 round pick on him because I don't think that's going to repeat itself. Like, believing in the outlier is silly. I want potential? Absolutely. But, like, these are extreme outliers. So, I don't know why you took Fuller. I think there were better players on the board. For example, Robbie Anderson's the number 1 wide receiver on the Jets. He was literally a starting player on the championship-winning team last year, and you had the opportunity to pick him, and you didn't. Instead, you fell in love with the guy who had 4 really good games in 12 weeks where he didn't show up. So, do I believe in the 4 or do I believe in the 12? I believe in the 12. So, now we took Doug Martin. Now, I live in Tampa. I unfortunately have to watch Bucs games from time to time, and they're not great. Doug Martin played for the Bucs. He's had 2 seasons where he was all-pro and fantastic, but those are 2 really big, extreme, quote-unquote outlier seasons. Like one of those seasons, he had like a 250-yard game against Oakland, and that was like a third of his rushing total that was a fourth of his rushing total for the whole season. That being said, I've seen the tape. Martin wasn't half bad last year. Did he have the explosion he had when he was younger? No. He didn't have that same explosion. But did he have the vision? Yeah, the vision was actually there. He did make something of like a pretty poor run blocking team in the Bucs, and he goes to a team in Oakland that has a pretty good run blocking like offensive line. Do I think John Gruden could throw the ball on third down to Doug Martin? Possibly. Marshawn Lynch isn't much of a receiving back, and Martin has been a bell cow back before. Do I think he does that again this year? No. But I don't hate this pick because you do need the running back depth. Thank you, God, for taking running back depth. It's super important. I don't care if you're just like, oh, I really need to address this. Yes, you really do, and you did that. I mean, should you have addressed it a little bit sooner instead of taking Will Fuller or Kyle Rudolph or Cam Newton? Yeah, you probably should have, but at least you recognized the issue and you tried to address it. So I can appreciate that. Doug Martin's not worth this being drafted this high, but you need to take depth, so I can understand it. So I'm okay with it. Sometimes you have to draft for need. Next pick is Mohamed Sanu. And this is classic Justin, just like, this guy looked pretty good last year. And, maybe he can be basically exactly the same. And circumstances would say no. So let's go through it. Number one, Julio Jones is on that team. Am I going to throw the ball to Mohamed Sanu or Julio Jones? The answer is Julio Jones. Number two, Devontae Freeman's on that team. Am I going to throw the ball to Mohamed Sanu or Devontae Freeman? The answer is not Mohamed Sanu. It is Devontae Freeman. Number three, Tevin Coleman's also on that team. He's also the other starting running back who, even while Devontae Freeman was the number one running back 2 years ago, he was a top 10 running back too. Am I going to give Tevin Coleman the ball or am I going to give Mohamed Sanu the ball? Going to give it to Tevin Coleman. So that's three. Number four, we used a first-round pick on Calvin Ridley out of the University of Alabama, funny enough, the same college as Julio Jones, to be a wide receiver on our team. Are we going to throw the ball to Mohamed Sanu or are we going to throw the ball to Calvin Ridley? The answer is I'm going to give it to the guy I just used a whole bunch of real draft capital in the NFL draft on. I'm going to give it to Calvin Ridley. So I just counted for you 4 guys on a team that are going to see the ball before him. You picked him because, he was kind of solid last year. Well, great. I'm happy he was solid. He was solid on a team with Devontae Freeman missing games and Julio Jones getting double covered, and he had a few good games. Congrats to you. It's a new year. It's not going to be the same. There are so many weapons on this team. The offense has to be better. Julio Jones scored 3 touchdowns last week. You think it's going to happen again? I don't. I think Julio Jones is going to score more touchdowns. Do I think Mohamed Sanu will have more touchdowns than Julio Jones? No. Do I think Mohamed Sanu will have more touchdowns than Devontae Freeman? No. Do I think Mohamed Sanu will have more touchdowns than Tevin Coleman? No. That was true last year for all 3 of them. Do I think that happens again? No. And that's the issue I have with this pick. Like, it's just indicative of you taking a guy who's just like, oh, he's a guy and he's good. Okay. Without actually knowing anything really about the guy. Like, he's already fallen on the depth chart because Calvin Ridley's the number 2 receiver now because they used a lot of draft capital on him and he's a good player. That's why you drafted him so high. And I don't care if Sanu was second in receptions and receiving yards last year on this Falcons team. The Falcons have a whole bunch of other weapons they're going to feed the ball to. Like, average game for Sanu last year, he got like 60 yards receiving. And I think he scored like 5 touchdowns on the season, I want to say. Can't look it up, so don't quote me on it, but I think it was 5. So, do I think he's a flex? I mean, I guess. But, like, you're cutting up peanuts right now. Like, I can go get a guy on free agency I think can score 6 points a game. Like, Theo Riddick was just picked up by Brian, and I think Theo Riddick could score 6 points a game. Like, that's not exciting. If I'm using draft capital on a guy who I think is going to get 6 points a game, that's wasted draft capital unless it's like towards the back end of the draft and he's got potential for something more. Mohamed Sanu doesn't have that. All those guys I mentioned, he's older than all of them. He's the 5th option on that team, at best. And I think this is just another indicative, like, he was the 32nd best fantasy wide receiver last year. Are you hoping he's the 32nd best fantasy wide receiver again this year? I guess so. Is that even flex worthy? I mean, borderline that's a flex option. I would say that's more of a bench piece. So you literally just draft a guy who's just going to be a bench piece at best case scenario. Just not. That's a waste. That's a wasted pick. You should have taken something with upside. There's no upside at all with him. It's just complete waste. You took Luke Kuechly next. Kuechly is an outstanding linebacker. I feel like you guys should wait on linebacker more because there's a lot of them, but at least you got a good one. He was top 5 at his position last year. He would have been number 1 probably if you hadn't missed a game. So Kuechly, again, does he stay healthy all season? If yes, then, he's top 5 at his position. If not, then, maybe you got to figure something out. Took Quan Alexander. He missed the first 5-6 games. He was still a top 20 linebacker though. So he's really good. He could be top 5 again. Does he play the whole season? If the answer is yes, awesome. He's top 10 in his position. If he doesn't, well, then I guess we got to figure something out. And that's really, he took injury risk, but it doesn't matter because it's a linebacker and there's plenty of them. So let's see. We got Matt Breida. Oh, here's a good pick. And it's worked out for you already because Jerick McKinnon blew out his knee. So Breida is now the number 2 running back on. No, that's right. I saw it today before my internet decided to suck because Frontier's terrible. He's at the top of the depth chart for San Francisco. He knows that offense. People are talking about it's like, oh, he could be a pass catching option. He's not much of a pass catcher, and I really don't think he's that exciting a player. And I think Alfred Morris is the guy to own in that backfield. But Bree's going to see he's going to see the ball because with McKinnon out, it's him and Alfred Morris, and there's nobody. So one of them's got to get the ball. They're both probably going to be in a timeshare, and that's fine because they'll get like each 15 touches a game, and maybe one of them will be the guy, and then they'll get a lot of yards, and then the other one will still be an option in the offense. And frankly, you need that running back. You need depth. So you took depth. It's already worked out for you. Breida has potential now to be a starting running back, and that's pretty valuable. And that's a really good pick already to get a starting running back that deep in the draft. This is what round? 12th round. You got a starting running back in the 12th round. That's great value already. It's not even week 1. That's the best pick you've had. You took Calais Campbell in the next round, defensive lineman out of Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a really good defensive line. They spent a lot of money on that line. I think he was the second best defensive lineman last year at his position. He averages 11 points a game. So, again, good pick. Good defensive players. Again, do they stay healthy? If they do, great. Ugh. Took Tyler Boyd next. Third best receiver in Cincinnati. Behind AJ Green and John Ross. I mean, he'll see the field as the slot receiver, but what are we talking here? 3 points a game? If we're lucky? They don't throw the ball a lot. They want to run the ball. Their offensive line's not good. AJ Green sees a lot of targets. John Ross is healthy now. Tyler Boyd can be a free agent. There are better players on free agency right now than him. Cut him. You took Tyrann Mathieu next. He changed teams. He was on Arizona, and now he's on Houston. He's a really good player. I like him a lot. He's a very good safety. You're hoping that he pops and he gets interceptions like he did when he was healthy. He wasn't totally healthy last year. I don't know if he does. He doesn't get as many tackles as other guys, but he's got potential. He'll be a starting safety in our league. I think last year he was just outside top 15, which obviously you need to be top 14 to be a starter in our league. So I think he can be. I don't think he'll be a top 5 or 7, but maybe he can be outside the top 10 a little bit. It's not bad. You took Chase Edmonds, who is the backup to David Johnson out of Arizona. So you got you got Andre's handcuff, and Edmonds has looked decent. He's played well. He's not great, but I mean, he's got potential. I think he's also in that's a crowd backfield because TJ Logan's back there too, and I like Logan a lot more. But Edmonds can really fly. You took a flyer on the guy. I don't have any problem with that, especially this late in the draft. Like, what is it? Like round 16. You took a flyer on a guy with potential. I can respect that. You took kicker Matt Prater. You love your Lions. Prater was top 10 at kicker last year. That's fine. They have good offense. Taylon Taylor, another flyer on a guy. Tennessee wide receiver. I think he's the slot man. He's looked pretty good in preseason. He's flashed big play potential. Does he stay healthy? Is that offense much better? I think it will be. I like it better than Rashard Matthews, who Sarah just picked up. So I'll give you that. Are they going to use him enough? I don't know. I hope so. He has potential to be more than what you use the draft capital on. Going back through it all. Okay. So, I said at the start of the video, I don't like your draft. And it's true. I don't like your draft. The beginning of your draft I appreciate because you did what you felt you needed to do, and I can get behind that because it worked out pretty well for you. But middle of the draft, you just kind of go on this lull where it's just like, I'm going to take a quarterback, and I'm going to fill this tight end, and I'm not really going to know anything about them. I'm going to hope. You need depth, Justin. That's really the biggest issue I always have with your team. You decide to take these starters at positions who aren't worthy of being starters, and you forego getting good depth, and it comes back to bite you in the butt because you get injured and you have no depth. You don't have good depth on this team. Sanu could probably be cut today. It wouldn't matter. Boyd could be cut today. It wouldn't matter. Edmonds, you took a flyer on him, but he's no different than a lot of guys. Taylon Taylor. The back end of your bench isn't good. You need to really get better at working on your bench, and I think that's where you lack between Mac and Brian. I know you're pretty busy right now, and I appreciate that. You're working at GM, and you have a lot of stuff going on. I understand. I'm just saying, it's always a question of depth. You never have good depth. And then the back end of your starting roster is usually not very good. And that's, again, the case. So, where do I grade you? Because I really, really like your first 3 or 4 picks. I think they're, that is a core of a team that could possibly push for maybe a championship. That's how good it is. But you don't do the necessary things to surround the core. Last year, again, Andre takes DeAndre Hopkins, and he takes Todd Gurley. But you know what? He goes out and he goes and finds a Jared Goff. He goes out and he finds a Robbie Anderson. He goes out and finds a Rex Burkhead. Are you going to do that? Will you do that? I don't think so. Nothing in your history says you will, because you value these guys who happen to be okay without actually taking into account what potential they might have. Mohamed Sanu was good, I guess, last year, but that's as good as it's going to get. And a lot of things had to go right for him to have as good a year as he did last year. If anything, all there is potential regression to decline. There's no regression towards improvement. It's the same thing with Will Fuller. I don't know. I don't know why you just kind of drive off a cliff in the middle of rounds. It happens every year. So I really like that starting. I really like your starting of the draft, but I really hate your depth, and I really hate that you took your depth because you wasted picks in the middle round on players who don't deserve to be starters. Frankly, gave Joe a D. I gave Mac a C-. You have more upside than Mac, which I appreciate, but that's only because your top 4 are really I like a lot more than his. I'll give you D+. So a little better than Joe, but not much. I appreciate upside, but all that upside's baked into only a couple guys. Are those guys your starters? Yeah. Could they win you some weeks? Absolutely. Could they be a core to a team that's really good? Yeah, but are you going to do the necessary things to surround them with talent? I don't think so. And that's why, again, you didn't do that in this draft at all. You didn't surround them with players who have potential or players who are very good at their position. You just surround them with guys who don't really have any shot of being anything more than backups. I mean, you could cut them today and I wouldn't think anything of them. They wouldn't make my team today. Like, I would not pick up Will Fuller, Mohamed Sanu, Tyler Boyd, Chase Edmonds, Taywan Taylor today. I wouldn't put them on my bench. And I used like round 14 picks on my bench, and I wouldn't pick any of those guys up because I want running back depth. So that gives you an idea of how lacking your depth is. Your depth picks are just not good at all. So yeah, I'm giving you D plus though because I think you have upside. I don't know if you're going to do the necessary things to be able to supplement the upside, but there is upside, but there is like potential downside. I hope you do the necessary things. I think your first 3 picks I really like. If I could just judge them on that, I would probably give you like a B plus. But like the rest of the draft is just terrible. So I can't ignore that. You had a good 3 rounds, and then the 4th round you reach for need, and then the rest of the draft is just garbage. I can't ignore that. That means it's like you fell asleep for 14 rounds. I don't know what happened. So it's a D plus, and that's why. I hope it makes sense. I really wish you and Mac would just talk more with Brian. Like, Brian really knows what he's doing, and I don't know why this happens. Like, you are decent at drafting, and Mac's terrible at it, and then Mac's good at doing free agency, and you're not as good. And then Brian just laps you guys, and I don't know why that is. I can't figure it out. I don't know. Talk to him. Something. Please. SOS, Brian. SOS.